Hello and welcome to Herein Lies the Peace of God in the Awakening Together Sanctuary. The Awakening Together Sanctuary is an assembly of equals joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self. Within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols, we seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. The host of Herein Lies the Peace of God is Reverend Jacquelyn and Glen, the President Minister of Awakening Together. Our co-host is your favorite anarchist preacher, Reverend Glen Ganaway, integral scholar. The Course in Miracles says this about discerning one truth. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.
Sing glory, glory, hallelujah. How wonderful thy holy name. Now I can see with God's own vision, and I see peace instead of pain. Yes, I see peace instead of pain. I can see peace instead of pain. Amen.
Wee doggies, y'all.
I know, that's the important part, isn't it? All right.
In my world, yeah.
Let's see. Tell them what we do, Jackie.
What we do here is we read and contemplate the keys to NTI. And I can't help but show that book. I don't know why when I say it, the keys to NTI, which is really a sampler from the Holy Spirit's interpretation in the New Testament. It includes Luke, Acts, Galatians, and Revelations. So some of the good books. So and we're thrilled to be here with you all. That's what we do. I had that all prepared, could you tell?
Perfect.
Well, yes, and what we're going to do this week is we're going to read Luke, NTI, Luke chapter 11, which appears on page 24 of the keys. I do not know the page number in regular NTI. Shauna can tell us though, because she's always on top of this sort of thing. Page 149 in NTI.
All right.
But it's Luke chapter 11. And so we'll read it and we'll chat about it, and we'll offer you an opportunity to chat about it as well. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we go, Glenn?
No, I think it's just it's even your turn to read.
To read. That's what I gathered. It's a great chapter. As you can see, I don't know what we're going to talk about because I underlined the whole thing. It doesn't help when you underline the whole thing.
That's why I don't do any underlining, because I do it on a separate piece of paper, because it's like this is like, you know, it would just be shredded, just highlighted pieces of shredded paper all over the place.
Yeah, well, my NTI is around here somewhere, and that's what it looks like. Yeah. Highlighted shreds of paper. Okay, so here we go. NTI, Luke chapter 11. How shall you pray? Prayer is the unceasing act of thought. With every thought, you pray for everything or for nothing at all. How then shall you think? I have already asked you to think with me by accepting my thoughts and laying your own thoughts aside. My thoughts are these. They are thoughts of forgiveness, love, acceptance, gratitude, and rejoicing. Whenever you are not listening to my thoughts, you will know, because you will not be at peace and you will not be happy. This is not a time to chastise yourself, for chastisement is not among the thoughts that I give. If you're tempted to chastise yourself for forgetting me, you must again be listening to your own thoughts and praying for nothing. This is the time that you should ask for your daily bread. This is a time of forgiving your own thoughts by laying them aside and again opening your heart to me. Ask and it will be given you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks, the door will be opened. Your Father is the extension of love, and his love has been poured out upon you. It is his only gift. Anything that is not of the gift of our Father is of nothing, and so it is meaningless and has no value. Lay that aside and accept the gift given to you by our Father. Your mind is split. Within you, there is great willingness to do all that I ask you to do. And within you, there is a great resistance that guides you away from the practice I ask you to seek. Let us look at your resistance, that you may be aware of its ploys. Then you will be able to recognize it and to choose, not with your resistance, but with your willingness. Your resistance will distract you away from me. It will give you thoughts that seem to need to be thought, problems to think through and solve. It will give you things to do that must be done if you're to be seen as worthy by the outside world. It will throw confusion at you so that what once seemed clear when you heard my word becomes muddled and unclear, so you are unsure what to do. It will ask questions, and you will seem to need to know the answers in order to put your trust in me. And so you will go out in search of satisfactory answers when satisfactory answers cannot be found. It will offer you diversions that seem to bring great joy and pleasure into your life within the world. It will bring doubt into your mind so that you will have a desire to find out what is true without giving of your trust. What are you to do when tempted by your own resistance? Notice it for what it is. Do not let it disguise itself as something important. See it as resistance and call it by its name. Then give it to me, backed by the strength of your willingness. Together we will redirect your attention to the path you have set out on. Blessed are those who hear my word and heed it in willingness and joy. Your resistance is nothing more than your desire to keep things the same, to keep things as you see them now. And you desire this because you desire safety, and you think there's safety in the security you have made, and yet you fear yourself and what you've made also. You are safe, but you're not secure, for security knows no illusions of fear. Let me lead you to both safety and security, which is known through the knowledge of your safety. Safety comes from the guarantee of who you are. The knowledge of your safety takes away all images of fear. In knowing yourself, you can know no fear. This is the light that shines from within to shine on everything you see, to shine away all imagined darkness, and to show you only peace, love, and joy. This light you shall share with all the world through your natural love of light. Resistance will sometimes seem to be the light, and so you must listen closely within your own mind that you know where your instructions and desires come from. Resistance will sometimes be subtle, and so you must listen closely within your mind so that you know where your instructions and desires come from. A useful question to ask whenever you're prompted to fill your time with anything is, what is it for? When you ask, remember the purpose of time. It is for healing your mind. This is its only purpose. If you are using time for any other purpose, you are not using time at all. Ask, what is it for? And then listen honestly for your reply. Any answer other than the healing of your own mind is but a delay in your purpose of your healing. Anything that is not a part of your purpose is a part of nothing. So if you ask, what is it for? And you find that you have given this time another purpose, then ask yourself, what do I want? When you answer this question with the answer of your heart, you find the means and willingness to change the purpose of the current time. And this change is but a correction brought about by your Holy Spirit, which knows your purpose and knows what time is for. There you go.
Uh-huh. Who doesn't want to know somebody who knows us so well that knows how you should spend every moment of your time? You know, in order for you to have what you want. Like, you know, it's not like, you know, it's like, oh, you want You want to get there? This is how this is how you do it. You need to do it this way. To be totally on your side, to like say, to get what, let me show you how you get what you want. Who doesn't want that voice in their head? It's become so absolutely abundantly, clear to me that I was, as we were talking about last hour, how tolerant I am of mind wandering, is what the course says. It's like, oh, the folly you allow when not paying attention to what's happening is, and she says it in this, goes, give it over to me, find out what it is and realize your confusion, then give it over to me. That's a really good habit. It's a very, very good habit. It comes from the fundamental understanding I don't know what anything is for, and so all my effort at trying to figure it out is in the service of trying to control it. That whole recognition, that mind inquiry she asks you to do every single time you think the way things are supposed to be, ask yourself all of that. That's where she begins with, what are you thinking about all the time? What are you thinking about? Where's your mind? Where's your mind? Where's your mind? Where's your mind? And she says, let me teach you how to pray. Oh, by the way, you're always praying. And this isn't, and you're right, anybody listening, this is a part in the Gospels where Jesus does lay down the Lord's Prayer, and this is her Regina's very delicious way of saying, my thoughts are these. They are the thought of forgiveness, love, acceptance, gratitude, rejoicing. Don't chastise yourself for forgetting. That's more forgetting.
Yeah.
Everyone who asks receives. Now, this is the story in Luke, where the person comes to the door and he goes, what do? You go to the door and says, I don't have any food for you. It's the middle of the night. I'm too busy. Just go away. This is the parable of the fig. He goes, why do you want anything from me? I don't have, I'm poor and everything and that's not what the parable of what Jesus says to do. He goes, open your door and feed them. Open your door and do the right thing and greet this problem, greet the problem, like Yolanda says all the time. We're this the talks about this the Rumi Sufi prayer. Let me be a wonderful, welcoming hotel. That's what. Let everyone who asks receives, and that's what she wants as the metaphor is that's be that kind of person, be the one that says, oh, you need this, without asking why or who or if or means testing or anything. Be there for this need. Everyone who asks receives. He who seeks finds, and to him who knocks the door will be open. If you ask for it, if you believe it, and whether or not it's for our good or not, we do ask and we do receive. This is a very, very, very powerful way of understanding and actually the kind of our own basic human nature. Your Father is the extension of love, she says, and his love has been poured out upon you. It's his only gift. She says, anything that's not the gift of your Father, it's nothing. It's nothing. Oh my God. It's like, why do I want to pay attention or be a part of it? Be a part of nothing. It looks to recognize my own desire. Your resistance will distract you away from me. And she gives you all the ways in which distraction happens. And I love this. You think you have problems to solve. You think you have things that must be done. You believe in competition and scarcity. You enjoy confusion. You are unsure, you mishear, you are concerned mostly with your worthiness, you ask questions without answers, and you create diversions and with promises of joy and pleasure. Does that not sound like the world? Does that sound like cable TV to you? Does that sound like the list of descriptions for tonight's movie viewing pleasure?
Yeah.
Yes. It's a world of doubt. And you could find all this out yourself if you be present to what is. All this is about, I'm here with you. Let's look at it together. Again, blessed are those who hear my word and heed in willingness and joy. Instead of going down that road. she says in verse 29, your resistance is nothing more than your desire to keep things the same and to keep things as you see them now. Resistance promises that I'll be safe as things stay the same. The only thing that stays the same is something that's dead. And even something that's dead doesn't stay the same. Other things come along and go delicious. So even that is, we're unable to do it. In knowing, and she says again, let me lead you to safety and security. This is the alternate voice. In knowing yourself, you can know no fear. This is what the voice is offering us, this way of seeing, this perspective. This is the light that shines from within to shine on everything you see. Change your perspective. Let me shine. Look with my light, where the Course would say it, to shine away all imagined darkness, right? Because there is no darkness, and show you only peace and love and joy, because that's what's real. Oh my God, peace and love and joy is what's real. The light you share, the light you shall share with all the world through your love of light. It was a big thing for me to admit that I really did like the truth. I really did like, the goofy sentimentality of it all, the really beautiful, it was, and I don't know about you, but I grew up thinking like being nice was being weak. There's a certain, maybe it's a guy thing, where you're being weak or showing weakness or showing vulnerability meant that, you were not quite as, where you should be on the masculinity or power scale or something like that. So those memes, or like that way of socially monitoring my own behavior, are ingrained in me, so that awareness is helpful when I do this. The request is to examine where your instructions and desires originate, she says at the top of page 151. A useful question to ask, whether you're prompted to fill in your time with anything. Say, what's it for? And the answer is healing, my healing. Like, that's what I realized that's it. I used to think healing really looked a certain way, and that was a lot of reason why I resisted like the healing, when I understood a little later in my journey that healing resembled more of like letting go of a clenched fist than it did over like a stab wound or something like that, But how even my own mind resists, seeing it. So I like it because she ends really with the thing that I really love. She says, and this is, my whole perspective of the world really changed when I was able to admit this. And I wasn't happy with what I saw when I first saw it, which is why it was profoundly changed. She asks at the end of this chapter, she says, what do you want? Is that where you're spending your time? Is that where you're spending your attention? What do you want? I can tell you what I want. I used to take, you can tell by what I have wanted in my life by how I spent my time. And they tell you in other programs to, like, say, write down everything that you spend. There's a guy, a Sindak, who is a management guru, has his computer that every single website he visits in a day is recorded on his Google Calendar. So the absolute phenomenal way of that desire to, like, what do I want is what I'm doing in service of what I want. My means are matching my ends. I am on board. I turn everything over, and I'm only in service to what is mine to do. Yeah, Jacquelyn says I'm going to need a bigger calendar. Well, I'm not a management guru, So, but that's chapter 11, ladies and gentlemen. It's quite lovely. This is yeah, it's a there's in the original what he references well, there's Pharisees and Jonah and all kinds of things in this passage, in addition to and a demon that gets exorcised too, a couple of them in this chapter. But you know, wherever there's I know, but wherever there's Jesus, there's these demons that need to get out. It's like, oh, I don't know who came first, Jesus or the demons. Wherever there seems to be like a demon to be like, you know, exorcised or whatever like that. I don't know. You know, I'm just kidding, of course, but
of course. No, I appreciate your interpretation of the Holy Spirit's interpretation of NTI Luke.
That's all.
That was good.
Thanks for coming. Don't forget to tip your waiter. The veal's great.
Right. So, yes, I will note that Rev Yolanda said that our thoughts are prayers, and we're always praying, which is what you said, Glenn. And she notes that is a unity song.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, you go Unity, right? It's good. It's good stuff. And so I think it's lovely. I think it's how shall you pray is the way this chapter starts, and that's it's brilliant because it's not what you think it is. You know, oh God, please look on. You know, and it's not. That's not it. That's not it. You're praying all the time, and what we found out through Regina's teachings, of course, and teachings that we learn here and that are brought in from other disciplines, is that we are always sending out our prayers by the thoughts that we choose to accept into our minds, and you know, and we are the creative principle, and that's how you end up with what you end up with, right? That's how we got right where we find ourselves. I love that this is beginning to talk to us about that this chapter is beginning to talk to us about discernment. It's like, okay, so praying in what you think it is, it's thought. So you might ask, okay, so how do I think? Well, let me tell you, I'm gonna give you the goods right here, right? Because you lay down your own thoughts and you think thoughts with me. Oh, what are my thoughts? Well, let me tell you what those are. My thoughts are forgiveness, love, acceptance, gratitude, and rejoicing. If you're doing anything else, you're not, those are not my thoughts. Right. So again, forgiveness, love, acceptance, gratitude, and rejoicing. Anything else are not my thoughts. And by the way, just in case you ever get confused on this point, if you're not happy, odds are not odds are, it's a sure bet, right? That you are not thinking my thoughts. You're not thinking with me. You're trying to think by yourself. Again, whenever you're not listening to my thoughts, you will know, because you will not be at peace and you will not be happy. You won't be having thoughts of forgiveness, love, acceptance, gratitude, and rejoicing. You're going to be having thoughts of blame, hate. I need it to be different. I'm a victim and this sucks. I mean, those are the opposites of
sucks to be me. I know, sucks
right?
to be me.
I mean, so those are your alternatives right there, as Connie would say. Column A, column B, right there. It's just that simple. And then Rev Kate was talking about this morning, when you catch yourself unhappy, when you catch yourself entertaining other thoughts, that's not the time to chastise yourself, because that's just, like, as you said, Glenn, more of the same, just more of the same. This is the time that you should ask for your daily bread. It's like, ooh, right? Oh, okay, I can see these are not your thoughts. What would you have me think? And daily bread can be something that you pick up and read, whatever Holy Spirit directs you to. This is the time to ask for your daily bread. It could be, you pick up and you read NTI. It can be a thought that comes in your mind. It can be that billboard that says, look again, or choose again, or so, it can be anything, right? But you have to ask for your daily bread. You have to make the conscious decision that you don't want to rest in thoughts that are not of Holy Spirit, right? You do. And it says, this is how you forgive your thoughts. You don't forgive them by going, oh, what an idiot, right? You forgive them by going, oh, I see that there. and then turning to something else, then asking for your daily bread so that you can give your believing attention to those thoughts, so that you can reinforce those thoughts in the world, in your heart and in the world. This is a time of forgiving your own thoughts by laying them aside and again opening your heart to me. And isn't it the thing, right? Because what we know is if you're thinking thoughts with the Holy Spirit, if you're giving your believing attention to thoughts of forgiveness, love, acceptance, gratitude, and rejoicing, what's going to be going on is you're going to be going, right? You're going to be doing that extension of love, which is your Father, it says in here, right? That's what it's going to feel like. It's going to feel like extension. It's going to feel like expansion. If you're entertaining these my will, selfish, I'm separate, I'm unhappy thoughts, right? Call it ego, call it self-will, call it what you will. You're going to have a closed heart.
Yeah.
That is the closed heart.
Sure.
That's the walling yourself off from the rest of the world, me against you. That's the whole thought of separation. So this is the time you should ask for your daily bread. This is the time of forgiving your own thoughts by laying them aside and again opening your heart to me. So and once you do that, it will be given you. Why? Because you're praying with every single thought, right? Ask and it shall be given you. And as you pointed out, Glenn, it doesn't matter what you're asking for. That's what you are. You are this creative principle. So that is what you're going to get. Like it or not, that's what you're going to get. Ask and it will be given you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. Yeah. So and again, I mean, I think it's just going over and over and over what's how to practice discernment. Your Father is the extension of love. That's his only gift. If that's not what you're doing, then again, and I love these words that these are exactly the words we heard from the reading this morning. Anything that is not of the gift of our Father is of nothing, and so it is meaningless and has no value. So you don't have to worry about it. And what did I do? No, it's just meaning. Move on to the extension of love. That's it. Lay that aside and accept the gift given to you by our Father. And then it's like, okay, but let's look at this resistance thing a little bit more so you know when you're doing it. Right? Because resistance, as it says later, it's very crafty, right? It's sometimes even going to seem to be light. Sometimes it's going to be so subtle you're not going to know you're even doing it. So let's talk about what it is and then call it out by its name. Just call it out by its name. I just love that.
Problems.
And so, and it's interesting. We're going to also talk about this in a few minutes in clarifying the teachings. Last week, I think it was in clarifying the teachings. Could have been in early insights. Our friend Marisol was saying, "Well, how does resistance show up for you? What does that look like?" And gosh, I wish I had actually read this when Glenn read it so last week, so I could have responded with this because it's just such a clear list. It says, and so with your permission, I'll read it. Please.
I highlighted that whole. I highlighted that whole list. I wrote it out. I said, I love this list. So, and what's the very top of the list?
Problems. Yeah, thoughts that need to be thought, and problems you think you problems to think through and solve.
Yeah, keep going. I just wanted to emphasize that where the very top of the list is.
The thoughts that seem to need to be thought, think through and solve. It will give you things to do that must be done if you're to be seen as worthy by the outside world. And I love that. Problem solving, thoughts of worthiness. I have to do this, or they'll think I'm a slug. Everybody knows you got to do this after you do. Everybody knows that, right? So things to do that must be done if you're to be seen as worthy by the outside world. Confusion. And isn't that interesting that confusion is resistance? And Shauna, you mentioned this a couple, maybe even in that last thing we were talking about, I don't know, with Marisol, but I do remember you mentioning this confusion, and I experienced that. I think we've all experienced that. Like you're in the middle of like asking a question or explaining something and it just seems to go away. Like, wait, I had it a minute ago and now it's gone. So that confusion is in itself resistance. Isn't that fascinating? And what do we do when we encounter resistance? We ask for our daily bread, right? We forgive our thoughts by laying them aside and again opening our hearts to Holy Spirit. So that's so to me that's lovely to know. What do I do? Because I do that confusion thing, and it's a little creepy. It's like, I was here a minute ago. Where did I go? So it's helpful to know that is resistance, and that you can just lay that confusion aside.
That is a meditation practice as well. They all give you a much similar list when they say, do the, go meditate, and the thoughts that come in your head, don't try to resist them, but she says, name them and lay them down. That's that's the meditation. That's the whole meditation. Oh, that's vengeance. That's self-doubt. That's desire. That's, or what, not even just like, I see it, I recognize it, and let it, and to let it go. It's literally a formal Buddhist practice.
Interesting. I used to have a meditation. It was like windshield wipers meditation. It was like thoughts about the past, thoughts about the future, thoughts about the body, and those were I would just label them, and boy, that's what they are.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. I love that. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. So okay. So again, we're going through this list. So resistance, thoughts that need to be thought, problems that need to be solved. Things to do so that everybody knows you're worthy. Confusion, right? And I will read that line again. It will throw confusion at you so that what once seemed clear when you heard my word becomes muddled and unclear. So you are unsure what to do, right? That's the danger, if you will, of resting in confusion. It's stopping at confusion, stopping at the resistance. Mm-hmm. You will feel unsure as to what to do. It will ask questions and you will seem to need to know the answer. I need to know the answer in order to put your trust in me. Yeah, but what, and we have all seen this in ourselves. It's like, I don't know, this is the way I've always done it. You want me to do what? Well, let me ask you, if I do that, then what? Blah, 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 blah. It's, like you need to learn to ask better questions, right? Yeah. Because these questions are merely resistance. Resistance to putting your trust in Holy Spirit, right? It says, you will seem to need to know the answers in order to put your trust in me. And so, and it's like, this is where you're going to go instead when you trust in this resistance. And so you'll go out in search of those answers, of satisfactory answers. And satisfactory answers aren't going to be found. These are all bullshit hypotheticals. And if they're not bullshit hypotheticals, apparently this doesn't need addressing right now. You need to just be right here with this that we're talking about right now. And then the jackpot here is, and if all that doesn't work, to distract you from Holy Spirit, we're gonna give you such a good time, right? We're gonna give you diversions that will bring you great joy and pleasure in your life within the world. Isn't that lovely? So yeah, so that's so shiny objects, right? I think you said that is what's next. And then finally, and I love this one. This is very subtle. It will bring doubt into your mind so that you will have a desire to find out what is true without giving of your trust. And guess what? That's impossible. You can't find out what is true if you don't give it your trust. Because you're putting your believing attention in the opposite of the truth. And so what's going to be proven to you? The opposite of the truth. So you get what you believe. Ask and you shall receive.
Knock.
So, you are never going to find out the opposite of what you believe as long as you continue to insist on believing what you believe without giving any trust to see if something else might be true. That's just the way it goes. That's because we are the creative principle. And then just this what are you to do? What are you to do when tempted by your own resistance? Notice it. Kate told us that this morning. Notice it. That's it. That's your whole job. Notice it. See it as resistance and call it by its name. Then give it to me, backed by the strength of your willingness. And sometimes that's all you've got. Sometimes all you've got is I'm willing to be willing. Right? I know this is not truth. Boy, it seems like truth, but I am willing to be shown this is not truth. And then it goes on to tell us why we buy into resistance, right? Because we want to be saved. We want to be saved, and this same old seems to
what's the part that needs to be? What part of us needs to be safe?
who am I defending? Yeah,
right. Yeah,
who am I defending?
Doesn't go very far with that. That simple inquiry was like going, well, it just goes right off the cliff. Who do you think? Like, bonk. You know.
Then it talks about how resistance can be crafty, right? Resistance will sometimes seem to be the light, so you must listen closely so that you know where your instructions and desires come from. It'll sometimes be subtle. Same exact words. So this must be important, right? The exact same words, two sentences right next to each other. Resistance will sometimes seem to be the light, and so you must listen closely within your own mind that you know where your instructions and desires come from. Resistance will sometimes be subtle, and so you must listen closely within your mind so that you will know where your instructions and desires come from.
Yeah. So what do you think the instruction is? Yeah.
Yes. So the instruction is a useful question to ask whenever you're prompted to fill your time with anything, right? Is what is it for? What is it for? And if you honestly ask that question, the answer, what is it for, will come to you. I mean, this is real simple root cause inquiry. Why am I doing this? Well, because I'll think I'm an idiot if I do it another way.
It might surprise you, the answer, how honest you're able to be with yourself.
Yeah.
If my own mind is any indication, if you do inquiry, it does actually, it will tell you the truth, because that's the way it sees things. That is nothing other than to say than what it sees or what it says or what it believes. It says nothing other than to do that.
Well, and we've seen that many times. Regina taught us to interview the ego, just to ask, what are we doing, ego? We're making sure that bastard doesn't get my, whatever it is. I mean, you are going to hear the answer. Ask and you will find, right? Or seek and you will find, what? Ask and you will be answered.
And all these things will be added unto you.
That's right. That's right. So
there it is.
So that's the question to ask. I mean, if you're in resistance, if you're doing something, you're like, why? Ask, what is this for? And if it's not for healing, you're given instructions to ask another question. Okay, then what do I want? And we learned, when we looked at clarifying the teachings last night, we were looking at lovingly loving your love, the love of discipline, right? And what we find is when we ask, what do I want? We find we really do want discipline. We find we really do want consistency. We find we really do want to walk the way of Jesus. We find, right? We find we really do want to do this. Otherwise, we wouldn't even waste our time here. We wouldn't even be here at Awakening Together.
I want to be a nice and loving person in my whole life, and these people are getting in my way.
That might not be what you want. And then this is great, because when you ask, what do I want? This is really your opportunity. Yeah. It sounds like another question, but really it's your opportunity to work with the discernment that you have achieved through saying, what's it for, right? It's your opportunity to choose again. This is the choose again point. What do I want?
I know, because if I have gotten there, it's like into really like problematic situation, and it's like, oh my God, I don't want this. I worked really hard to get here. Obviously, I did all the things that got me to this place that I feel awful and other things. I worked really hard to feel this bad. You know?
Right? My whole life. Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. To realize it's not to feel bad. Your life isn't to suffer. Your life isn't to feel bad or to get revenge or convince anybody that you're okay or not okay or anything like that. Oh my God, I've spent so much useless time trying, really, really, really trying to do that,
So when you ask, what do I want? I love this. You find the means and the willingness to change the purpose current purpose of time back to healing. And I love that, you find the means, right? When you truly ask your heart and the answer is, oh, I want healing. I want to use time for what it's for. The means are immediately given. And why? Because of the creative principle.
Ask!
Because ask and it will be given you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be answered unto you. So there it is in a nutshell.
All right. Okay. What does our lovely studio audience want? Cindy, please.
I was checking within. Maybe today's not going to be the day I don't raise my hand, but that it didn't happen.
Thanks for checking.
Well, one of this is because there was a big shift in the last couple of weeks in the understanding of this place your thoughts on God type of thing. Because for I don't know how long, like the whole time I'm on this path, it's like, oh, I'm worrying about my children. I should be loving on them instead. That had been kind of, I've been through a lot of different teachings that say, send them blessings or do this or do that. And it never quite worked. And somehow it just dropped that, oh, I'm worrying about them. I don't worry anymore. That's a fear thought. I hand them over. And I turn to my spiritual aspiration, or I do my lessons, or I do some reading, or I just take a walk and feel bare feet and grass. I literally stopped thinking about them. And it was a huge shift in my understanding of this prayer work and the golden key and everything else. So it was a really kind of an awareness that I didn't get until I did. And it's really appropriate to what we're talking about here. And even like my last homily or the homily on the golden key, I didn't quite like it's about letting them go. Like I'm not changing them with my prayers. I'm literally trusting that we're all safe and God is love and we're all one, and my prayers turn to that. So I felt like I wanted to say that out loud because
can I ask you,
go ahead.
Are you a list maker by any chance?
Not anymore.
Yeah.
I used to write. Well, I took during this hour between 6 and 7, Jacquelyn taught me to take notes.
Okay.
So even though this is a different class, I still take notes.
Thank you, Cindy.
Because Jacquelyn taught me. The other, I'm in James now in gentle healing.
Okay.
And so in James, of course, teaching the same thing, literally, I thought I underlined it here, but in James, I'm not going to go looking for it. James 1 literally says, if you're not happy, if you're not in joy, you're listening to either two voices or the wrong voice. And so I thought that was very interesting that that's what I heard today. But the thing that I wanted to point out that was really valuable to me is that there was a conversation in the original NTI study group here in James 1 about what is meant by joy or happiness. It's not, oh, we're going out to the bar and we're gonna have a good time kind of happiness. No. Regina just defined it as contentment or a sense of quiet well-being, and that was very valuable for me as well when I look at this chapter, because there are a lot of moments where I'm standing still and watching the conditioning go nuts. And I wouldn't call that happy by the definition I was given when I thought the world made me happy. But when I'm standing still and watching the insides go nuts, there's this sense of contentment and peace and knowing I'm exactly where I want to be that feels like this quiet sense of well-being and joy. Like, that's not me. That's just blocks that are being dissolved, and there's nothing else I'd rather do. So wanted to say that too. The only other thing, because you were talking about it, so that I was making my notes,
Regina also stated in one of these NTI study groups that I listened to all of James today, that you can consider God to be consciousness and the Son to be attention, and go ahead and try to separate the two.
Yeah.
And there was something that you were, I don't even remember what you were saying, but it seemed to be what you were teaching, and so I wrote it down. So what you was teaching this afternoon was a step by step way of easing the ego into the pot of knowing that it is God. And so that's all this, other than the fact that I love being here, and thank you. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you, Cindy.
Brilliant. Yeah, I loved once again reminding of is like where what we do instead of what is ours to do. We find find something else to do, find the distraction, find the default thing, and it's a habit to it's a very satisfying habit to be present, to keep moving and to recognize recognize quickly when I'm off, when my attention is bringing me experiences that I say I do not want. It's like, oh, they're here because I want them. They're here because I participated in their arrival and their creation. I'm not the victim. The responsibility.
So the question is, yeah, what am I doing now, and why am I doing it? Yeah, because those situations, we didn't just pop into existence. Well, maybe we did, but it doesn't seem like we just popped into existence today, right?
Right.
So it's again, it's like what happens after you drop the brick on your toe and say, God damn it, we left that brick here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the excuse my vulgarity, but that's the real question, is what happens next? What choices do you make from there?
And we do it as ourselves, we do it as families, we do it as groups, we do it as larger entities as well. These concepts and this way of being or understanding these principles isn't limited to a one-on-one encounter, or even in interior like dialogue. It's has manifestations in the way that we experience the world. It has this belief has manifestations in the way that systems and laws are created that we encounter with each other, and even affects our institutional relationships, with each other. So this desire to be, to prove something, to solve a problem, the competition, to be, unworthiness affects workplace, stuff all the time. I know that there's some people I work with that I wish they would be more confident about the job that they're doing, because all the confidence and stuff that we have to keep them rolling in order to keep them up to mentally, they can do this job, but their steam and their ability, their belief in themselves is the only problem with their doing that. The only problem people have with the job that this person is doing is that they don't think they can do it really well. And so they keep having to have all this reassurance and checking and everything like that when they're doing it really well. And so it's like, the only problem with your job is that you don't think you can do it. It's just like, oh, and I've been in all of those situations. So I see myself everywhere, I do. Examine where your instructions and desires originate. Instructions and desires. So where your instructions and desires come from. Fascinating.
Shauna, did you want to share, honey?
Please.
Yes, I did.
I thought you did.
Thank you. This is a great discussion. I love the list of resistance. Didn't even want me to say the word.
What do you call that? Resistance.
Right? That's a perfect demonstration.
Yes, well done.
I love that. And what really caught my attention, though, was doubt, the doubt one.
Yeah.
It will bring doubt into your mind so that you will have desire to find out what is true without giving your trust. And what you taught, Jacquelyn, brought clarity. And then on top of that, I heard that's when I believe my mind.
Yes.
I believe the thinking when I don't trust.
Yes.
And it hides as clarity.
Ooh.
And-
It masquerades as clarity.
Yeah, masquerades as clarity.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's very pretty.
That's true. And then let's see.
Mm.
Under the do not let resistance disguise itself as something important. And I can see that in every single one of these resistances. Oh, it's so important for me to continue to do this.
Mhm.
That's really struck something for me to look at, is how I give it importance. I give it importance.
Wow.
And then how it and how it disguises itself, I don't know how it says this right way, how it disguises itself as light. I experienced that this morning with Michael DeForb's meditation, because I noticed that mind had made awareness into an object. And I noticed it only because I went deeper, I expanded backwards and went, oh, holy shit, it had made awareness into an object.
Wow.
And I was totally believing that was what awareness was.
Wow.
So thank you for letting me just speak that out loud.
Brilliant.
Yes, it was brilliant. And I wrote down when you were talking about doubt, it will bring doubt into your mind so that you will have a desire to find out what is true without giving of your trust. And paraphrased, this is when I turned to the thinking mind. And now I'm trying to remember what you said after that I went, wow, it was so quick. It's gone again, It's like, you remember?
I think it was without trust. That's when I go and believe the mind thinking it's clarity.
Oh, it masquerades as clarity.
Masquerades as clarity. That's it.
Yes, that's it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Very helpful. Rev Yolanda?
I was just so fascinated by that list also. Thank you, Shauna, for bringing up, the list and what you experienced through it.
Are you are you muted somehow on your computer, Rev?
Confusion. So see, even as I you can't hear me?
Well, we're hearing you through Glenn's computer.
Oh, how weird. Oh, that's me. Okay, hold on. Is that better?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay,
Could you start again? Awesome. Thank you.
Well, I was just.
Where'd she go?
Yep.
Tell you what, you want to go in there and say it through Glenn's camera?
You want to come here? You want to come here?
Okay.
Resistance, yeah, doesn't it?
Okay, hold on.
That's
We're
resistance.
breaking the illusion, y'all.
Connie's
breaking
calling
the
this
illusion.
resistance. I'm just saying.
Exactly.
Yolanda, we can hear you now. So go ahead.
Okay. That's amazing. It really is. Because I was like confusion. What was confusion as resistance, right? And
Right.
so this whole little scenario that just happened was confusing me. I'm like, oh, how? What am I doing wrong? Something's wrong. You know what I mean? So it's awesome. And then I noticed earlier we were sort of talking about this in the fellowship time, I think, when somebody had a question about wanting to understand the concept better. And Anne so gently addressed it by saying that's a great question. And what is actually happening here is that you're experiencing resistance because you want to clarify. Am I getting this right? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? And that blew my mind. I hadn't really put that together quite yet. And here we are talking about it now. So I felt like I just wanted to say that is a big impact on me today. And it's so amazing that it was in this list.
Yeah, there's only like 5 things there, Rev Yolanda.
And then I just experienced it trying to talk about it.
Yeah, listen to me.
I love it.
I hear you. Boy, aren't you
The
powerful.
love of my life, ladies and gentlemen.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for
I
sharing that.
know.
Yeah, it's really brilliant. It's really brilliant. Just the noticing is, well, so what do you do when you encounter resistance? Notice it for what it is. Do not let it disguise itself as something important. See it as resistance and call it by its name. Then give it to me, backed by the strength of your willingness. Together, we will redirect your attention to the path you have set out on. So yeah, so it's like, again, it's together we will use the creative principle for the healing of your mind. And you've just demonstrated that beautifully, Reverend Yolanda. So thank you.
Together, right? It's called awakening together. It isn't 6 feet, lady. You know. So why don't you play us out? Play us out, Saida.
Nope, didn't want to play.
That's okay.
I didn't download it.
Okay, that's fine.
All is well. So we won't hurt your ears and sing our outro. We'll just say it's been lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you all for being here. We
Yeah,
love
it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge.
You've been listening to Herein Lies the Peace of God with Reverend Jacquelyn Eckert and Reverend Glen Ganaway. To find out more about Jacquelyn and to donate to Awakening Together Sanctuary, go to www.awakening-together.org. To find out more about Glen and to donate to the Mighty Companions Ministries, go to www.glenganaway.com. That's GLENGANAWAY.com.